There's no way I am the Evelyn you are looking for.
Every rejection, every disappointment has led you here. To this moment.
Now we're going to move on and get into the spoilery goodness of Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I just want to talk about, the meaning, a lot of the real meanings of the film, but also like how it functions, how it explains like how the characters move from one universe to the other, how they explore the multiverse, kind of in the when we find out. And a lot of this is explained through, again, it's a difficult, job, chat, because anytime you have a complicated concept like multiverse, that typically comes with a lot of exposition, and they give a lot of that, at least initially, to Huy Quan's character of Waymond. He's the first one that really introduces us to the Alphaverse, chat. And it kind of starts subtly in the movie where it's like in the beginning of the film, we're at the laundromat, and there's like some kind of like weird shift with him. There's like a visual cue, and he becomes like very different all of a sudden. Like, because he's kind of like the meek, goofy husband, at first. But then he becomes, even like you notice his body language. I think very subtle. It's like when we see Huy Quan for most of the movie, he's kind of like, he's kind of slumped, he's slouched over. But when he becomes this other version of himself, which they call the alpha version, because this version of him that visits this reality is from the Alphaverse, where everything is great and where we were super, in the field of sci-fi technology and everything, although inevitably it all fucking went wrong there, chat. They all thought they were fucking smarter than the rest of us poor fucking schmucks in the shitty universes, chat. But I just like how that was subtle. And he explains the whole verse jumping concept. That's what it is, where they use this piece of technology. It's like this, in this case, it's like a Bluetooth headset, right? And through their computer systems, they have been able to map out the various universes that exist within the grand scheme of the multiverse, right? And so in order to access the memories or the abilities of that universe, you got to do some weird, goofy shit, which is pretty fun. It's like you're almost, again, because it's like, because you got to think of a thing, like how would you be able to access all that stuff? It's just a fucking button. That's kind of boring, right? I think that's kind of boring. And so they want to have like these kind of just weird visual moments, these weird visual cues. And so in some cases, like for his character, in order to access like kung fu powers, of one of his other universe variants, he has to eat like an entire tube of chapstick, of cherry chapstick. Everyone's like, going, what the fuck is that? And then he starts kicking ass with a fanny pack. It's really cool. Or for something else that he wants to do, he has to give himself like paper cuts. He's just staring at the camera, like giving himself paper cuts. Everyone's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like, there's a lot of that crazy shit. Or in some cases, chat, you gotta just pull your pants down, lift up your cheeks, and just insert yourself on a giant dildo so you can have the abilities of kung fu fighting. It's like, it goes that crazy. You gotta, it's not only your mind, chat, that needs to change. You gotta put your body through all these different scenarios, okay? Which is really cool. And visually, it's like, okay, it makes sense. And it's different. And I'm not making this up. You're thinking like, Chris, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, that's how it is. And so it's also like you got to use the mind, but also the body. You got to manipulate all sorts of ways in order to get the powers that you want. And, in order to avoid, which they do the whole exposition thing. He does that. But then after that, he explains it relatively quickly within those first 20 minutes, chat, with, sporadic scenes layered in. But after that, you're like, okay, I get it. Let's go through with it. Let's go forward with that. And I like that because it was just different. It was just different, and it was visually interesting for me. And also for Vanny, who was watching as well. Another thing I think is pretty cool is when you look at like, okay, so why was this universe, the universe that this Michelle Yeoh that we follow, why was she chosen? And they inevitably say in the movie, it's because you're the worst Evelyn. You are the shitty, least productive, procrastinating Evelyn in the entire multiverse, chat. She's picked up all these hobbies, which she's dropped. She's wanted to pursue all these other professions, which she's dropped, all of which have also gotten her and her husband and their business in trouble because she's written these off as business expenses, and they clearly are not, chat. Finger painting is not fucking a business expense, and all those other things that they mention. And I just love it because it's Michelle Yeoh going, wait, I'm the worst. I can't be the worst one. And everyone's like, no, you are the worst one. And I think that's great. And how they set up as well, because she has, She attempted to do all these things. She also has the most potential because she experienced like this broad spectrum of hobbies and things to do. And so she has like a little knowledge of each one. And so for whatever reason, the film, that then allows her, after she, does all sorts of fucked up things to her body, allows her mind and her body to access the different powers across the multiverse, chat. Whether that be, becoming a mixed martial artist or using all sorts of like other powers and abilities, even if it's for like a single moment. And so it's great because it plays an important role in the plot itself, but it's also like just really self-deprecating for, it's very, not self-deprecating, but it's a great comedic part of her character, which I think is really funny. And then the other thing, Chad, the other big reveal in the movie is her daughter of Joy. She's the villain in the film. And she is this character of Jabu Tapaki. I think that's how you say him, Jabu Tapaki. And in the Alphaverse, right, that Michelle Yeoh, who's like this super genius who discovered all the universes, she exposed her daughter to just... because she wanted her daughter to be like her. Again, it's the whole about generational trauma. She wanted her daughter to be like her. And she forced her in this horrible experiment. And so her daughter, who forms this new personality of Jobu, and this kind of like cult, which is across the multiverse, she experiences everything everywhere all at once. That's what the title is in reference to, is the daughter. And she kind of lives this horrible fucking life where she's constantly experiencing different things at once. And she's kind of, that's made her nihilistic. That's made her uncaring and vicious, because her whole thing, in the grand scheme of everything that there is in this universe and the side universes and all across the multiverse, nothing fucking means anything, okay? And she just wants to end it all. She's like, fuck it, I want to destroy it. She wants to pull a fucking Thanos on a multiverse scale, chat, okay? And she's put the form at which all of her energy, all of her power, all the things that she's stolen across the universe, chat, she's formed it into a giant black bagel. It's a giant bagel. There's like, because they constantly like reference bagels throughout the movie, which is interesting. But like this bagel, it's so powerful, it basically sucks up, it devours anything, chat. You do not want to be near this bagel because it's going to absorb you and your essence and everything else. That's what it is. I can go for bagel's pretty good. Bagel's pretty good. I'm gonna have some cream cheese. Let's get some salmon, some smoked salmon on there, some lox and salmon. That'd be fucking great. Wouldn't mind that. Some arugula. Hell yeah, shit, I can do that. But you don't want to eat this fucking bagel because it is the Vor universe ending bagel. Rick Sanchez is right, man. Yes, indeed. That's all. Doesn't mean anything, Morty. It's over, Morty. That's great. I love it, and in the film, she is able to just constantly like change her abilities and her outfits at any time. And again, this actress who I'm not too familiar with, of Stephanie Hsu, great. Every scene she's in, she's great. She holds her own with everybody, chat. She can handle the comedic stuff. She can handle the dramatic stuff. I mean, she gets a nice couple of really good monologues in the movie. She's really fun. Really fun, and you kind of like, I get it why she's doing what she's doing. And when you think about, again, it's if you lean more towards being a nihilist, it's like, oh yeah, just fucking end it all. That's definitely not what happens. But the thing is, at the end, when we get to the true end of the movie, like its real meaning, it's like, besides dealing with like family trauma, I feel like the film does a great job of exploring a person and how they're always consistently dealing with expectations and how they're being perceived and how they're being forced to absorb, or they're being barraged by like their family and just life in general, how it requires like just so much on a person. Well, you have to do this. You have to do this by this certain age. You have to appease your parents. You have to appease your grandfathers, or your various generations of your family. And that can give you an existential crisis. That can make you nihilistic and say, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to do this. But at the same time, I think it's important. This is what the film says at the very end, where Evelyn realizes, like, even despite all of her powers, she finally has that kind of coming to, she has that moment where she needs to realize, like, I got to step away from all the pressures of the world, all the pressures of my family. And, despite, going through all this conflict, that her relationship with her daughter, that's the thing that is worth the most in her life. And it takes work, and there are dark times and there are hardships, but you have that hope in the end. And you have to realize that you're not always going to be there. You shouldn't place so much on yourself to appease so many people. That's the thing. I think that's what the movie is really trying to say at the moment. Stop doing that. Stop doing that for your parents, your grandparents, your boss, or whoever. Like, do it for yourself. First and foremost, do it for yourself. Make yourself happy. That's what it needs to be. And look to the people that you can share that with, that are happy with you, and then you can be happy with them, and have those and cultivate those very important relationships. And in the grand scheme of things, in that universe, the multiverse itself, that is incredibly important. Because your life is incredibly important, because you're having a wonderful experience with that person and with yourself. You're happy, you're self-satisfied. And so it kind of pushes away that existentialist, conflict and that nihilist conflict, and to say, no, if you just be happy and work on yourself, but share that with the person that respects you and loves you, and do the same for them, and do the same for them, because it's not just about you, but also do the same for them. And I really like that. I thought that was a really nice message that the movie had at the end. It's a great ending, chat, where, yeah, she has that life and she works at the laundromat still, but she has a much better relationship with her daughter, and she's been able to work with her husband. That's the other thing too. There's a whole subplot about them getting divorced and things, but work on her marriage and accepting everything for how it is, but also finding the time to improve upon herself slowly, because it's not instantly. The movie's not saying you're going to do it the very next day. It's going to take time. It's a process. It's a lot of work. But, she takes responsibility for herself, to recognize her flaws and to better herself. And she wants to have a better relationship with the various members of her family, but also be honest with them and to confront them on things that have been affecting her. And that's what the movie's about. And I think that's a really beautiful message at the very end. And, chat, we get different dimensions where Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis are fucking each other with giant hot dog fingers. And we get it to where she's this badass actress, chat, who was trained by, like the female Fu Manchu. And we get it where, they're just a couple of boulders on Earth where, there was no life, there's no humanity, but they're just a couple of boulders with googly eyes. We also get all that weird, crazy shit too in this movie. So if you're thinking like, oh my God, this is heavy concept, but don't worry. It's layered with, and the thing is, even when you get the scenes where people have hot dog fingers and they're squirting ketchup and mustard in each other's mouths and jerking off, and when they're just, boulders of googly eyes or rolling down a fucking mountain, layered between all those scenes, Chet, are these moments where we can go ahead and we can confront these very realistic things that we all go through. And that's what makes this movie so beautiful and funny and just a joy to watch. And yeah, one of the big successful films so far of this year. How crazy is it that The Rock seeing more emotion and character development? I know that Rock, chat, literally, and it's just two rocks with googly eyes. And just text popping up above each fucking rock. It's a great sequence. And those rocks had more character development in general, than any fucking scene, any character, any dinosaur in Jurassic World Dominion. Very true. Hot dog thing, that was ridiculous. That was like so weird and gross. Each finger has a different condiment, chat. You got the ketchup finger, you got the mayo finger, you got the mustard finger, you got the horseradish finger. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Like, they can't use their hands because they're made of hot dogs, and so they have to use their feet for everything. It's just like really crazy, wacky shit that they come up with, like the visual gags. But again, learn all that is these really emotional scenes. And so it's fun. I hate the hot dog fingers of passion. No, I get that. I think you're supposed to be grossed out by it. And that's funny because in that particular moment, in that universe, you have where it's Jamie Lee Curtis and Michelle Yeoh characters are lovers. And you see how they're struggling and going through their shit. It's like really fucking interesting. So yeah, but yeah, that's kind of like my spoiler review for the movie, chat. I mean, there's so much detail and there's stuff I probably missed watching this film, but it's great. It's really, really good. I mean, I'll probably I'll probably remember something after this review and like, oh, that detail to bring up. Like James Haan's character, like you find out he's kind of like the leader of this resistance, and you think he's just going to be kind of like funny James Haan, you know, the very demanding dad, but you find out like, no, he's like this militant leader of the Alphaverse, and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill my granddaughter, I'm going to do what I need to do. Oh, and Raccoon Tooie, that's right, which they do a whole parody of Ratatouille, chat, except it's with a raccoon working at a hibachi grill, which is fascinating. And like she has to help this one chef whose life was all about this fucking raccoon who controlled him via her hair, like in the universe where it's the universe of what if Ratatouille was real and you can control a person by their hair. It's like, wow. It's great. Voiced by Randy Newman voiced the raccoon. I did not know that. You got a friend. Very nice. James having a great year. Good for him. Good for him, Chad. He deserves it. Man fucking deserves it. He's like 1,000. I think he has like 1,000 credits across movies and TV and animated and radio. The guy's a legend. He's a legend, Chad. I went to a dine-in movie theater, and the lady who sat next to me was drunk. She was laughing so much. Nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Glad you had a good time. Let's just point out to the dog with the hot dog finger touch you everywhere. Wayman's speech about fighting with kindness, one of the greatest. Yeah, it's a good one. It's good. Fighting with kindness. Yeah, before he's going to kill him. Yeah, he dies. The Alphaverse version of him, at least. Gets got, Chad. Gets got. But yeah, it's a great movie. I recommend checking out, Chad. Seriously, if you've not done so. Even if the things I went over, like there's so much detail in the film that it's even hard to like do a proper spoiler review of all the scenes because there's so much. I mean, they have a whole sequence in the movie, chat, where they have a fight scene, very well choreographed fight scene between Michelle Yeoh and some people that work at the IRS building, security guard and like some employee, where in order to access their kung fu powers, they need to shove a butt plug up their butts. Like this huge, like there's this whole other plot where the manager of the IRS has like, you know, he's a BDSM fetish and like he gives out these trophies, which are obviously butt plugs. And so these guys literally have to shove butt plugs up their butts to access their powers. And they're fighting with the butt plugs just shoved up way up their anuses. And it's like, this is amazing. I loved it. Yeah, this was one of the hardest movies ever to review. It's complicated. It's like, listen, it's dealing with a lot of big themes. You know, you have to take the time to dissect. Even then, like before I started this, I was kind of just thinking, like, how am I going to talk about this? And how much detail can I go into without spoiling? So hope I went into enough, chat. Hope it came across understandable. Hope it was understandable for you. In case, unless I was sounding like I was speaking mumbo jumbo, let me know. But I tried to explain to the best of my ability. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie, chat. Another film I think I'm gonna probably buy. Usually, I look at this past year and I'm like, I don't buy too many physical things, but I still collect Blu-rays. And this is one I would I'm going to add to the collection, chat. I'm going to add this to the collection. I look painful and stuff. I mean, that I'll never get into bed. Yeah, it's to each their own, to each their own. You never know what your kink is until you try it. Chris Ayers, you might got to try it. Hope you like. No, I did, Crispy. I did like it a lot. And it was great. I love how they blurred that one. Oh, I know. They pixelated his the whole area. That was funny. Summer Baby. Thank you, by the way, Jason, for the 10 minutes. It was great to see James Hahn. My sister on the drive was like, was that data? And I said, yes. Sure, round two. She said, why did you tell me? And people forget. I think for a lot of people, that's like, oh, shit. I wonder how many people knew going in that that's actually, short round and data. Okay, this is Dark Slayer. Very nice. 4K for you? Well, look at you being all fancy, Slayer, of your 4K TV. I don't have a 4K TV. I have a 1080p smart TV, and it's good. 4Ks are expensive. Blu-rays are cheap. Blu-rays are cheap now. I wait for the sales during, Black Friday and the holidays. And a lot of even these newer movies, they're like, you can get them for like $7.99 or $6.99. So I usually wait around that time to purchase them. It's a great way to do so. Or look for Amazon deals and things. But yeah, chat. No, I think this is a movie you guys should check out. At the very least, watch. I think it's worth it. If you're not able to see it in the theater, then take the time to when it's when it's on a streaming service or buy it on demand or rent it on demand, I encourage you to do so. You might get out of it more of a theater experience, but hey, I still love watching it on my TV. It was fun. Very fun film.